Today, a Cuyahoga County grand jury completed its thorough investigation of the fatal shooting of the 12-year-old Tamir Rice on December 22nd, 2014 at the Codell Recreation Center. Based on the evidence they heard and the law as it applies to police use of deadly force, the grand jury declined to bring criminal charges against Cleveland police officers Timothy Lohman and Frank Garbeck. That was also my recommendation and that of our office as reviewing the investigation and the law. A short time ago, we informed Tamir's mother of the grand jury's decision. It was a tough conversation. We again expressed the condolences of our office, the sheriff's detectives, and everyone else who has worked so diligently on this case, and our sincere wish that these events on that traumatic day at the Codell Rec Center had unfolded differently. She was broken up, and it's very hard. We explained to her that this was a difficult decision also, but that to charge police, even a situation what was as undeniably tragic as the death of her son, the state must be able to show that the officers acted outside the constitutional boundaries set forth by the Supreme Court of these United States. Simply put, given this perfect storm of human error, mistakes, and miscommunications by all involved that day, the evidence did not indicate criminal conduct by police. On close examination, especially of what is perhaps the most critical piece of evidence, a very recent enhancement of the surveillance video by an expert laboratory often relied upon by the FBI, it is now indisputable that Tamir was drawing his gun from his waist as the police slid toward him and Officer Lohman exited the car. At the point where they suddenly came together, both Tamir and a rookie officer were no doubt frightened. If we put ourselves in the victim's shoes, as prosecutors and detectives try to do, it is likely that Tamir, whose size made him look much older and who had been warned that his pellet gun might get him into trouble that day, either intended to hand it over to the officers or show them it wasn't a real gun. But there was no way for the officers to know that because they saw the events rapidly unfolding in front of them from a very different perspective. Just minutes before, they had been assigned in order to respond to a Code 1 report of a, quote, guy, end quote, pointing a gun at people outside the rec center. That guy, they had been told, was dressed exactly as Tamir was. As they raced that mile towards the rec center from their other assignment, the police were prepared to face a possible active shooter in a neighborhood with a history of violence. There are, in fact, memorials to two slain Cleveland police officers in that very park, a short distance away, and both had been shot to death nearby in the line of duty. Police are trained that it only takes a third of a second or less to draw and fire a weapon upon them, and therefore they must react quickly to any threat. Officer Lohman had just seen Tamir put an object into his waist as they pulled up, and he stood up in a gazebo and started walking away. A moment later, as the car slid toward him, Tamir drew the replica gun from his waist and the officer fired. You'll be able to see an actual Colt 1911 model pistol and a identical replica gun that was used that day. They are very difficult to tell apart, even by people who are very familiar with guns, even when you stand and stare at it. A moment later, as the car slid toward him, Tamir drew the replica gun from his waist and the officer fired. Believing he was about to be shot was a mistaken, yet reasonable belief, given the high-stress circumstances and his police training. He had reason to fear for his life. It would be unresponsible and unreasonable if the law required a police officer to wait and see if the gun was real.
I want to bring in now Earl Ward, who is the attorney for the Rice family. I appreciate your being with us. And first of all, when we heard this, we know the prosecutor said that he spoke extensively with Tamir Rice's mother. What is their reaction to this grand jury decision?
Hi, good evening, good afternoon. Ms. Rice obviously is devastated. She was hoping and praying for justice for Tamir, and instead what she got was no indictment. So needless to say, this was a very devastating decision for her, and she's extremely distraught.
Well, I know earlier this month, the Rice family filed a wrongful death suit against the officers in the city of Cleveland. Where is that standing, and what else is the family and Tamir Rice's mother going to do to seek justice in her eyes?
So the wrongful death action was actually filed about a year ago, and that has been stayed pending the decision of the grand jury. So right now, we will proceed forward. But look, it's important to pursue this civil case. But what I think Ms. Rice wanted was accountability. She wanted someone to be held accountable for the killing of her 12-year-old son. And that didn't happen here because this grand jury voted no true bill. And I think this grand jury voted no true bill because they were influenced by the prosecutor who had determined that there were no criminal charges here, that no criminal charges should have been filed. But we are also going to proceed with a federal request for federal inquiry into this. And we've already done so, and we have gotten some indication that the federal government is interested in looking at this case very closely.
All right, certainly keep us posted as that continues to develop. Sir, we appreciate your time. I know you've got to get back to the family as you have been with them, I'm sure, for the better part of today. Thank you so much. Earl Ward, the attorney.